Well, hello again and welcome to Proper Balance. We've turned that corner and we're moving on to this very critical piece of the puzzle. Remember I said that proper balance is the flip side of the food quality coin. You must eat in a balanced way if you want to create your very best body and send your pack of health problems, well, packing, for good. Eating foods that conform to the quality standards you've learned is necessary but not sufficient, and I know this firsthand. There came a time in my own journey when I really cleaned up my diet and I was eating according to quality standards, and yet I was still chronically underweight and I still had a very painful skin condition and energy crashes every day that put a serious cramp in my quality of life. And yet I was eating quality food. This is the power of proper balance. When I learned how to eat in a balanced way, these problems disappeared and have never returned. Eating properly balanced meals and snacks is essential for metabolic healing, having high sustained energy throughout the day, overcoming cravings and sugar addiction, and healing your pack of problems. So let's learn how to do this. First, let's do a quick recap of what we know. We know there are 3 macronutrients, carbs, protein, and fat, and we know we need quality sources of each of these macronutrients every day. So what we need to know now is how to combine our macronutrients strategically to create meals and snacks that are balanced in a way that triggers deep metabolic healing. Yes, you are going to learn to be a strategic eater. So let's find out how. Let's start by comparing 2 versions of a very popular breakfast. Oatmeal. I've probably eaten thousands of bowls of oatmeal in my life, maybe just like you. Every time I go into a restaurant for breakfast, I'll see half the restaurant eating a big bowl of oatmeal with a big helping of fruit. Oatmeal and fruit are both very healthy, so what could possibly be wrong with this? Well, let's see. Both the fruit and the oatmeal are quality carb sources. The oatmeal will also give me some protein and a smidgen's worth of fat. So the balance of carbs, protein, and fat for this meal would look like this. While this breakfast has the quality factor, it's extremely carb heavy, so the balance isn't optimal for many people. Your proper balance is unique to you, and I've met very few people whose proper balance is so carb heavy. It certainly isn't for me. So let's see how we can tweak this breakfast so it's more balanced. First, I'll reduce the amount of oatmeal and fruit by half. It's still going to give me the quality carbs I need and some protein and a tiny bit of fat. Now I'm going to add a bit of cottage cheese, because that's what I like, and some raw almonds. The cottage cheese is going to increase both my protein and my fat, while the almonds will also give me more fat as well as a little bit more protein. Notice that I now have a more balanced representation of all 3 macronutrients. The balance of carbs, protein, and fats for this breakfast looks more like this. This balance will give me more sustained energy. Also notice that by improving the balance, I've increased the variety of foods in the meal, and the better the variety, the better the nutrient profile of the meal is going to be. Let's explore the principle underlying this. Have you heard of the glycemic index? The glycemic index measures how fast your body converts carbohydrates into energy, meaning how fast a food raises your blood sugar. As I've mentioned quite a few times, your body converts all carbs to glucose, which is just another term for blood sugar. This graph shows the effect of consuming pure glucose on the body. The horizontal axis shows the amount of time since consuming the glucose, and the vertical axis shows your energy level over time in response to consuming the glucose. As glucose is released into the bloodstream, your energy increases. So if you were to drink glucose, you would get an almost instant energy spike because glucose doesn't need to be broken down by your body and will enter your bloodstream immediately. The only problem with this is that that energy spike will be followed by a crash and burn of equal or greater magnitude as the glucose is quickly burned off. We don't want that to happen. We want sustained energy. So what have we learned acts like sugar in your body? Refined grains. I know you said that. So that means you can expect an energy spike followed by a quick crash and burn if you eat a Pop-Tart or a donut or pastry or even a bagel or muffin, and definitely any kind of chips. But what else gives you this effect? You know the answer. Fat-free foods. Remember, they're typically loaded with sugar. In general, the simpler the carbohydrate, the faster your body converts it to glucose, and the faster your energy is going to spike and then crash. The more complex a carbohydrate, the more work it takes your body to convert it to glucose, the slower the glucose enters your bloodstream, and the more sustained your energy will be. We use the glycemic index to compare a carbohydrate food to glucose in terms of how fast your body converts it to energy. For example, if we assign glucose a glycemic index, or let's just say GI for short, of 100 for comparative purposes, we see that brown rice has a GI of 55, meaning it converts to glucose and is released into the bloodstream at about 55% the rate of pure glucose, or roughly half as fast. On the graph, you can see that the slower conversion rate results in a smoother, more sustained energy flow. This is because brown rice has nutrients and fiber and even a little protein and fat, which takes your body longer to break down. On the other hand, a Pop-Tart made of refined flour and sugar would have a GI much closer to glucose because there's very little in a Pop-Tart to slow its conversion to glucose. So fat, protein, and fiber slow digestion. When we add chicken to our brown rice, the protein and fat in the chicken will slow your digestion even further, providing even more sustained energy. The glycemic index of a meal is called the glycemic load. So, brown rice has a glycemic index and brown rice with chicken has a glycemic load. And this glycemic load will be lower than the glycemic index of the rice. Our objective, therefore, is to create low glycemic meals and snacks. A low glycemic meal provides 3 to 4 hours of sustained energy and mental focus and eliminates carb cravings. This is a meal that heals. This is a metabolic home run. We talked about how important blood sugar balancing is to metabolic health when we've talked about low-fat diets. Now you understand the mechanism behind this. Refined, high-sugar, low-fat, or fat-free foods provide little to no substance and quickly convert to glucose, causing energy spikes followed by crash and burn because they're high glycemic foods. Remember when we computed the effective sugar content back in our carb adventure and label reading? The effective sugar increased with highly refined carb foods because our bodies treat them like sugar. Making matters worse, of course, is the fact that these foods have little to no nutritional value. But a lot of healthy foods are also high glycemic, such as certain starchy veggies and fruits. And this is why you can eat very healthy food and still have a damaged metabolism if you're not eating in a balanced way. Let's pull all this together by looking at what I call the circle of health. Eating a healthy balance of carbs, proteins, and fats, meaning eating low glycemic meals and snacks, stabilizes your blood sugar, which gives you sustained energy. Have you been suffering from the dreaded 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. energy slumps that have you going for another cup of coffee so you don't feel like you have to take a nap? When you eat like this, you won't have that problem. You'll also experience satiety, which means you'll feel wonderfully satisfied, which will curb carb cravings. Have you also suffered from carb cravings? If so, you're singing my tune. What a nightmare those are. When you eat in balance, you can say goodbye to carb cravings. This results in a healthy, efficient metabolism that will actually burn fat and keep you at your healthy weight and keep your gut healthy and able to optimally absorb nutrients. In stark contrast, eating the standard low-fat diet, which typically consists of an unbalanced diet of highly refined foods, will create what I call the vicious circle, which unfortunately I'm also all too familiar with because I spent years a prisoner in it. Let's see if you have too. Eating this way, which millions of Americans are doing right now, will cause blood sugar imbalance, leading to low energy, energy fluctuations, and the dreaded 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. energy slumps. And this will make you irritable. You'll also get hungry quickly because fats are what create satiety. This will lead to carb cravings, and what follows cravings? Binging, of course. Eating like this will cause severe metabolic damage that leads to weight gain and other very unpleasant symptoms, and malnourishment because, first of all, the food you're eating will contain relatively few nutrients, and also your gut won't be able to efficiently keep out toxins. Of course, this whole vicious cycle is self-perpetuating, and many people stay trapped in it for decades. I'll bet you know someone who has been. A lot of my clients have been. Let's review what I call the magic healing formula for a balanced meal or snack that maximizes your nourishment and energy and triggers deep metabolic healing. Just combine a carb, a protein, and a fat at every meal and snack. Done! You may not have noticed, but we actually started out with this magic formula when we looked at our 2 oatmeal breakfasts. Okay, that's it for now. That was easy. We're going to pick back up with proper balance in the next class when we talk about crossover foods and what they are and why they're important in terms of ensuring that you eat in proper balance. Until then, all I want you to do, in addition to continuing to follow food quality principles, of course, is to start combining your food strategically using the magic healing formula. So every time you eat, you'll just make sure you're eating a carb with a protein and a fat. It's pretty basic, but it's uber important. And if you need a refresher on quality standards for carbs or protein or fat, you can always go back and do those classes again. That's one of the benefits of this system. You can go back and watch the classes again. You don't have to take any notes, and there are no tests. Does it get any better? Why, yes, it does. What you're learning actually works. Okay, great job, once again. I'll see you next time as we delve deeper into eating in balance. Cheers!